Hi and welcome to this video. My name is Sophia Marks. I am a hat maker and an online tutor. I've been a felt maker for nearly 35 years, and in my online workshops I teach other felt makers how to develop expert hat making skills. Now, if you are here, then I suppose that you are as passionate about hats as I am, and I think hat making involves so many fascinating skills and techniques. And you probably also know the frustration when you have great ideas for great designs, you just don't really know how to realize them, or when you realize them, they don't exactly come out the way you intended them to come out. Now, the truth is that not being able to make the type of felt that is suitable for sculptural forms will dramatically hurt your ability to make great head designs. In this video, I am going to share tips and techniques with you that I developed through the years. And we will primarily focus on fiber, what type of fibers are suited or best to use for making hats. And we will also focus on the layout technique. Now, I am going to share a tool with you that I recently developed. This tool will help you organize your workflow when you are doing the layout. It will also help you to archive your results for later reference. This is important if you want to improve upon those results. So whether you are an experienced felt maker or you are just starting out on this fascinating journey, this video will be useful to you. There are so many different ways to make felt, and we felt makers do a lot by intuition and because we learned it in a certain way. The fact is that there are so many subtle details that could be impacting your results without you even knowing why. If you want to achieve better results, then sometimes just tweaking those methods or refining them a little bit can lead to completely new and different outcomes. In this training video, we will go back to the basics and revisit, and if necessary, reprogram those habits that might be holding you back from achieving stunning results. So let's get into it. Wool is a fascinating material. Around 500 different breeds of sheep worldwide grow wool in various colors, textures, and lengths. If you want to make felt that is delicate and refined, but at the same time strong enough to be sculpted into 3D shapes, you have to choose your wool fibers wisely. What qualities of wool fiber shall we concentrate on when we want to make hats? To answer this question, let's divide fibers into two large categories: fine wool and down type wool, down as in DOWN. To understand the difference between these two large categories, we will zoom in on one characteristic of wool fiber, the crimp. The crimp is basically the waviness of the wool hairs. Fine wool, like merino or targhee, has tiny and frequent crimps. This is the reason why felt made from merino wool is fine and dense, and it feels soft to the touch. So this could be a good choice for hats, right? Well, there is a catch. Merino, unfortunately, has very poor sculptural properties. The tiny crimps on the merino fiber do not allow the felt to be stretched out and sculpted. The hat will be floppy and will not hold its shape at all. Down type wool has more robust and well-developed crimps. The crimp of the wool works as a spring. It makes the fibers light and springy. These wool types produce felt that can be stretched and sculpted thanks to the unique structure of the fiber. Unfortunately, this type of fiber has a disadvantage too. The robust crimp will make the felt spongy and somewhat rough. This will make the shape of the hat less refined, sometimes even rudimentary. During the shaping of the hood, the fibers are subjected to a lot of pressure. The felt is steamed, stretched, and shaped like clay. Felt made only from merino wool cannot withstand this. It will likely break or thin out in certain places. To increase the elasticity and the resilience of the felt, we will mix merino fibers with down type wool. The merino fibers will make the felt look and feel fine. The robust, springy fibers, which we will hide underneath the fine merino layers, will fortify the felt and increase its elasticity. To demonstrate this process, I am going to make a simple and light cloche hat. I am using a template that is 50% larger than the size of the hat when it is finished. You will find the measurements of this resist in the handout. The total weight of this hat is 70 grams. This template size will allow for a 50% shrinkage, which is ideal for this shape and the fiber mix I am going to use. We are going to mix the fibers as we do the layout. The ratio of fine wool and down type wool is a very important factor. The ratio is dependent on the type of hat or design that you are making, and you will need to decide on this before you start the layout. When you start experimenting with fiber mixing, I recommend that you first try a ratio of 1/3 of down type wool to 2/3 of fine merino wool. This is the ratio I am using in this video. I am working with 21 micron merino and Tyrolean mountain sheep wool, which is down type wool. Tyrolean mountain sheep wool, Bergschaaf, has excellent sculptural properties. I highly recommend using it for hats. I am going to start the layout with one layer of Tyrolean mountain sheep wool. Tip number 1. Use down type wool in beds. First of all, you will not need to worry about the direction of the fiber when you do the layout. It is easier to handle the wool if you tear off a 15 by 15 centimeter piece from a larger bed. You can separate the shingles easily by peeling off thin layers of wool from this piece. The shingles have a mesh-like structure, with the hairs crossing each other in all directions. This mesh of springy fibers will function as a reinforcement when the felt is pulled and stretched in all directions during the shaping of the head. After one layer of mountain sheep wool, we will lay out 4 further layers of 21 micron merino. Tip number 2. It is best to use merino in roving where the hairs are combed in one direction. Working with roving will allow you to have maximum control over the thickness of your layers and the direction of fiber in the layout. Be consistent with the direction of fiber within one layer. Avoid a fishbone layout if you are making hats. After the mountain sheep wool layer, I will lay out 2 diagonal layers of merino wool in medium blue, followed by 1 vertical and 1 horizontal layer of light blue merino wool. So there will be 5 layers altogether, 1 mountain sheep and 4 merino layers. You saw me marking the contour of the resist with a sliver of wool in the beginning. When you are working on this side, lay your fiber 2-3 centimeters beyond the contour mark. This is necessary to be able to fold the fibers back on the resist. Try to lay the fibers a bit finer around the edges. Tip number 3. Always weigh and set aside the estimated total amount of wool that you will use for a hat. I made a little cheat sheet for you to help you determine the weight of your hat. You will find the cheat sheet in the handout. Before I started this layout, I measured out the maximum amount of wool that I am going to use. During the layout, I only use wool from this stack. This is really important. Measuring your wool before you start the layout will allow you to keep track of the weight of your layers. This will also help you keep the layout even. In the handout, I will explain how to calculate the weight of your layers and how to keep track of your workflow with the help of the layout chart. Tip number 4. Use various shades of the same color in your layout. My last 2 layers are a light blue color. This will be on the outside. The darker blue fibers will penetrate the surface from underneath and will produce a beautiful soft melange of light and medium blue colors. After the shrinking of the felt is done, by the way, this is called fulling, you can shave or burn off the fluffy hairs on the surface. Tip number 5. When you are making hats on a template, work inside out. This means that the layer that is in contact with the bamboo mat will be the inside of the hat. The layer that touches the resist will be the outside visible layer. Think of the resist as a mirror that flips the order of your layers. We will lay out the same layers on the other side of the resist, only in reverse order. Before we place the resist on top, we will wet the wool with hot soapy water. Tip number 6. Use a bottle that can hold at least 600 milliliters of water. You will probably need between 400 and 600 milliliters of water per side of the layout. Timing and temperature are very important factors. The goal is to keep your layout as warm as possible till you place the template on it. I use an old detergent bottle. I punctured the cap several times with a thick and hot needle. Fill your bottle with 200 milliliters of cold water and top it up with about 400 milliliters of boiling water. We need the water to be as hot as possible to make sure that the droplets don't cool down by the time they reach the fibers. Tip number 7. Avoid using bubble wrap for hat making. Water will be trapped between the layers and will cool down quite quickly. The cold soapy water will prevent the fibers from interlocking, and this will slow down the felting process. This can cause a lot of trouble and hurt the quality of the felt. We will continue the layout on side 2. The order of the layers on top of the resist will be the following. First a horizontal layer, followed by a vertical layer of merino wool. Then 2 diagonal layers of merino, and finally the mountain sheep wool layer. The layout chart will help you keep track of the correct order and thickness of the layers. Tip number 8. Leave the resist open around the edges for now. First, lay out 2 layers of fine merino on the resist and then fold the edge of side 1 back on the resist. When you are laying out the first 2 layers on side 1, do not lay any fibers beyond the resist. Lay the wool a bit thinner around the edge of the resist. After the horizontal and vertical merino layers are finished, it is time to turn the fibers back around the edge of the resist. Tip number 9. If your fibers are too dry, it will be difficult to fold them over. Sprinkle some hot water on the fibers. This will make them stay folded over. Comb the fibers lightly with your fingertips towards the center of the resist. This movement will also help the fibers wrap tightly around the sharp edge of the resist. As you are doing this, you can remove the sliver of wool that mark the edge of the resist. After the edge is folded over, you can continue the layout with 2 diagonal layers of merino wool and a light layer of mountain sheep wool. Try to lay out your fibers extra thin as you are approaching the edge of the resist. Now discard any leftover lukewarm water you used on side 1 and fill the water dispenser with hot water again, just like we did previously. Wet the fibers thoroughly. Tip number 10. Before you start rolling, take a large, damp towel, roll it up lengthwise and place it at one end of your bamboo mat. Start rolling up the mat at the side where the towel roll is. Tip number 11. As you are rolling up your layout in the mat, to avoid creasing, lift the roll from the table, pull it slightly towards you and turn it in the air. Put it back on the table, lift it again and turn. After the bamboo mat is rolled up entirely, just keep it rolling in the same direction for a while. Tie the roll securely and roll it for about 2 to 3 minutes, gently pressing down on it with your underarm. Open the roll, flip the felt over and turn it 90 degrees. Roll another 1.5 minutes and repeat. Roll the felt from all directions until the fibers are interlocked and don't let go when you gently rub on them. Tip number 12. You will need to tie the roll only for the first 3 minutes of rolling. After that, you can keep it open on one side. When your felt is ready, cut it open and gently remove the resist. Turn the hood inside out. The felt is now ready for fulling. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video and you are going to try out those tips and techniques that I just showed you. And remember, small details can make a big difference. Don't let minor technical problems hold you back or derail you. What I have shown you in this video is just one chapter in a much bigger story, a fascinating story. So I've got so much advice for you. Tools, charts, more tips, techniques. I teach this in my online masterclasses. If you would like to take the next step and go deeper into this, then you don't have to wait. You can take one of my self-paced online masterclasses. Just go to sophiamarks.com/online masterclasses or send me a message. It took me decades to perfect my results. And I want to show you a shortcut so you can get there much, much faster. And I know that you can do it. So it's your time to take those creative ambitions to the next level. Thank you so much for being here and see you soon.